Hoodoo is very, very important to me, and it is a lot different than Wicca. See, now, unlike Wicca, which is a system of spiritual practices that anyone can master regardless of age, race, gender, culture, or even religion, Hoodoo is considered a closed practice. Okay, that means that unless you have ancestors or bloodlines tied to African descent, it means that, you know, there is a stipulation out here, especially on social media, where everybody shows all of the rituals. It's considered a closed practice because of the history that I'm going to talk to you guys about. Now, in case you were wondering, I will not be teaching you guys about the voodoo, the loas, but we will learn a few things about hoodoo. And by the end of our lesson 2, which is coming up next after this, where we will learn how to use tools, you guys will learn about, you know, using mojo bags and how to properly dress a candle, certain things that I will share. All right. And the reason I'm not going into the voodoo and the loas, people kind of get into that. They really want to do a lot of, you know, hexing and a lot of dark work. And there are some adverse things that end up happening in their lives. And we're really not doing a lot of research on, you know, working with the loas, and we just want to dive on in there. Until you understand how the metaphysical world really works, or how the spiritual realms work, how these deities work, you can have adverse effects. So there are many people, though, that are very educated in hoodoo and they practice it, or they're very educated in voodoo and it works for them. It doesn't always work for everyone. Hoodoo is an established magical practice formed in Africa and was deprived of its original spiritual philosophy, with Africans brought to America as slaves. Hoodoo arrived in the New World with those taken from their native lands being denied of their identities and their religion. It has since absorbed beliefs and practices from other cultures, such as Native American spirituality and European ceremonial magic. The slaves found themselves in a place where they were considered the property by the slave owners. African and Native American slaves often worked alongside one another, and some believe it that through this mingling, the slaves learned a great deal about medicinal and magical uses of herbs native to America. As various slave owners associated themselves with Christianity, they wanted to convert their slave workers. They were not all allowed to practice their religion. The slaves conveyed their beliefs under the ruse of the predominant religion of their region. In the most southeast areas where individuals were mostly Protestant Christians, the dark man of the crossroads came to be known as the devil of Christianity. Hoodoo practices blended with not only Catholicism, but with voodoo. With this, the Christian saints often became connected with the spirits and deities of voodoo. As an example, the voodoo deity called Dambala, who commonly took the form of a serpent, would they join Saint Patrick with driving the snakes out of Ireland. In the northern states where African Americans were somewhat free, they were introduced to European immigrants who came to America and sought religious freedom with their religious and folk magic beliefs and practices. So I'm going to give you another example of how my ancestors decided to speak through me, even though I am a Wiccan. I decided to start looking into all different types of cultures. I'm very eclectic. And I noticed at my nearest stores in my area, as I would go in these stores, I started to notice the saint candles. Saint candles are very prominently used in these communities. For instance, the Mother Mary candle. There's one particular Mother Mary candle that reminded me of the Orisha Yamaya, and I will go ahead and show that to you. She also reminded me of the Black Madonna, and she also reminded me of Isis, or in Kemetic Egyptian studies, we want to say the goddess Aset. I've had many people question me about why am I practicing Wicca even though I am Black. I've had many different things come my way. But I started to understand that no matter what I was doing, my ancestors would come through and show me some things that I didn't even read in a book. So Hoodoo is a Southern African American folk magic. The goal of Hoodoo is to tap into supernatural forces to improve daily life by gaining power in areas such as luck, money, love, health, employment. As in many folk religions, magical and medicinal practices, extensive use of made of herbs, minerals, contact with ancestors or spirits, and also conjure tradition. Your intentions are your thoughts, your energy at the time, and the purpose for what you want to do while you are making these things or while you are touching your tools, and the words or incantations, the prayers matched alongside with all that together becomes very, very powerful. And finally, believing in what you're doing and having faith that it is going to work. Dark entities and negative spirits can come into a cluttered house that is not cleansed. Incantation to ask my deities and my ancestors to help me cleanse of any negativity or any kind of hexes, any type of negativity off of me, and then being cleansed before I even think about doing spells or touching any of my tools. This is a story that you guys can look up. It was published April 29th, 2020. This is about a Virginia teen that passed away 2 days after writing on Facebook that she had seen Papa Legba. Well, how could she have seen Papa Legba? Well, the recent death of a Virginia teen has been blamed on her practicing Haitian voodoo spells to summon the deity known as Papa Legba. This 19-year-old Katelyn Cat Restin was found passed away after she allegedly drowned in a bathtub, according to the posts on social media from her friends. Restin's unexpected death came just 2 days after she claimed to have seen Papa Legba, apparently after summoning a spell, and people tried to warn her. Papa Legba is also Aloha, which are spirits of Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo as well. And so basically this particular West African and Caribbean voodoo god has many different names, as we talked about. All right. So let's talk about what really happened to her. Katelyn was a part of a group on social media that practices spells, and one day she decided to get into voodoo, allegedly, to get back at her ex-girlfriend, who is Black. And when people warned her not to play around with this stuff, she clapped back on Twitter saying that there's nothing wrong with trying something new. Let people live and have their own religion, she wrote on a post on March 29th of that year. And she also claimed that if someone is into something different, accept that. Stop saying, no, you come from God. And she also claimed that she was also a Wiccan, and she is tired of people telling her what to do. So on the Twitter post, she actually has a picture of a voodoo doll that she made for her girlfriend who is black. Well, what happened to her? 3 weeks later, after she posted that she had seen Papa Legba, she claimed that she was scared and she was crying. And then 2 days later after that, she passed away unexpectedly at her mother's home. Could it possibly be that maybe she called on this spirit out of anger? But was it really that? Was it more of a cultural thing? A lot of people are saying. And a lot of people are saying since her girlfriend was black and she decided to call on an African deity to attack her, she had a very adverse effect, and the opposite happened in the worst way. Again, we definitely need to be careful of how we use these deities. Now, you do have a choice not to call on any type of deities. You really don't. A lot of people choose not to even, may not want to call on deities and spirits at all. It's all up to you.